Okay, let's get into the workshop. So I love workshop because of it sets assignment expectations and outcomes clear from the beginning. Every student knows what is expected of them, what kind of things they need to do in order to achieve the grades, the highest possible grades. We have the ability to do both peer and self-assessment. Now, self-assessment is really good because obviously it allows them to reflect on the tasks in hand. It also allows them to give relevant feedback to each other, and you as a teacher as well can give them relevant feedback. You get 2 grades with any assignment. You get a grade for the work submitted, but also for the work assessed. The beauty of this module as well, you've got a choice between manual allocation of assignments for marking or automated. So if you've got very big classes or very big groups, you don't want to sit there and allocate them individually, but you can set it off automatically. I like also the fact that it uses different grading methods, including rubrics, so you can tie it in with practice courseworks. I'm a maths teacher, and this is actually where I found it most useful, using a rubrics marking guide. Okay. Just waiting for the slide to change. Now, I'm going to just walk you through the steps of setting up a workshop. Like with anything in Moodle, you choose as an activity or resource, and when you choose the workshop module, you get a little explanation of what it's used for. Okay. Now this is the bit that most people get to, which is actually setting it up. And the setup screen is very similar to all other activities within Moodle. You give your workshop a name, a little description of what it's all about. Now, this is one of the nicest things here. You can choose what the features of this particular workshop are going to be. You can set up examples that students can use in order to practice their assessment. They don't need to go straight away and look at other students' work until they're comfortable with marking their own work. You can have it solely for peer assessment. You can have it for self-assessment as well. So how would they mark their own work based on the criteria that you were given? Now, this is also another feature I like. You get to set the grades for both submission and assessment. You can make them even scores if you want to. I've chosen a 75-25 split. The grading strategy, actually, let me just zoom in a bit because I think that might be a little bit difficult for somebody to see. Work. It's a little bit better. The grading strategy, you have 4 options here: cumulative grading, and also you have the rubric setting. Now, for this particular example, I've chosen a cumulative grading, which allows you to, for a student or a member of staff, to enter comments as well as a grade. So the grade can be out of 10 or 100, whatever you set it up at. Okay. And then, what exactly is this assignment about? So here are the instructions. In this particular case, we're writing a short paragraph on why it's important to be part of iMoot. Oops. Okay. And with other things in Moodle, you can also add attachments to your submission. Okay. Okay, once you set it up, the next thing you need to do is actually put in some instructions for assessment. Okay, how are they going to decide whether it's a good assignment or not? Okay, so give them some prompts here. What do you think of the response that's given? Oh, I want to explain. Write a few comments on the response given. This is separate from the individual grading criteria, which we'll see in a moment. This last box, you can enter a statement that will allow them to know that they have completed the task following, not just producing the assignment, but once it's been assessed as well. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on in this. Okay. Right, so that is almost the completion of the setup phase. Now, if we have a look at these phases, and we're just going to work our way through them, you'll see that I've got a couple of green ticks there for what I've completed already. This one is greyed out. This is the edit assessment form. And this is where we set the criteria for our marking. Okay, so I'm just going to click onto that. Thank you. As you can see, I am a complete newbie at this. Is that better? Okay, so these are the things that I'm going to be grading this particular assignment on. The first aspect is the content. The second aspect is the clarity. I can give all of these aspects different gradings and different weightings. Now, just to make it simple for us, I've made each one out of 10 and given an equal weighting of 1. But obviously you can change it depending on the importance of the particular criteria. Okay, and that's just a preview of the form. So this is what a student will see when they are actually assessing a piece of work. Okay. And as you can see, it's quite easy for them to then just pick on the drop down, pick a mark, and actually the comment is explaining the reasons for giving that mark. Okay, that completes the setup phase. Once we've got the 3 ticks in, we then move into the submission phase. So you click on the little light bulb, and what this does, it absolutely, yes, you can add more aspects. The default there is 3. You can add up to 5 aspects. The other alternative is to use the rubric marking guide. Okay, once you've moved on to the submission phase, this allows students to actually submit their assignments. Okay. Now, in my class, I have 10 students. In fact, it says 7 on that screen. There are now 10 students, and that's the assignment that I would be expecting. Okay. I can also submit a piece of work that I want the students to mark, maybe as a practice. Now, this will only change to a green tick once everybody has submitted their assignment. Okay? You can move on to the assessment phase before all the assignments have been submitted, but it will stop submissions. So if you have got students who are away, or they're going to be away for a while, they're going to miss the deadline date, you can move on to the assessment phase. When you're in the submission phase, this is what the student sees. So I'm going to log in as one of my students. This is Little Miss Sunshine. She's logged in and she's logged on a particular task, and she's being told to submit her work. The instructions are there. She needs to write a paragraph on being part of iMoot 2013. Off she goes. Okay, so she can write a submission. She can obviously upload a document as well. When she's happy with that, she can save changes. and she will get to preview her assignment. So if she's not happy with it, she can make further changes by going back into the edit button. She can keep changing the submission until the submission phase is closed, okay? Or if you have defines the date and it's past its deadline date. But while the submission phase is open, students can carry on editing their submissions. Okay, so now all our students have handed in their works. I've got Mr. Happy's there, Miss Naughty's there. Okay, once I'm happy that those assignments are in, I can then switch to the assessment phase. And this is the point at which we start doing peer assessment, self-assessment, and in fact the teacher can also do a grading assessment at this point. Okay, so when we're in assessment phase, no more submissions can happen. Okay, these are the pieces of work that need to be assessed. So we're now going to log in again as a student and actually see what they get to see. Okay, oh sorry, they don't see anything yet because I have not allocated the work. The next job, once you go into the assessment phase, is actually to allocate the reviewers of each piece of work. Now you can have as many reviewers as you want, at least one person to review. So Mr. Happy's work is going to be reviewed by Little Miss Sunshine and Little Miss Naughty, and they are also going to review the work of Little Miss Naughty and Little Miss Sunshine as well. Okay. In this drop-down list, if you wanted to add the teacher's name, you could do as well, and you could add Mr. Happy there as well, so you can do self-assessment. Okay, so Mr. Happy's logged in. He now knows that we're in assessment phase. He's been asked to go and assess the work of 2 peers. He's got the list of the work there. He clicks on the assess button, and this is what he sees. Okay, so he gets the assignment up here at the top. He can read it, and then he has to give the marks and relevant comments. Okay, based on both aspects. Okay, once everybody has completed their assessment, what you will see are the marks that have been allocated, the marks that have been received for each assignment, and also the marks that they have given for each assignment. Carol, can you automate the assignment? Yes, you can. A couple of screens ago, we had the choice between a manual assignment or an automatic assignment, and you can click automatic and it will either allocate them randomly or according to particular criteria that you set. For example, if somebody has not submitted work, they cannot review work. Okay. So if we have a look, these are the current grades as they stand. This is not going to be the final grading evaluation. Okay, we now switch phases over to grading evaluation. Okay, now there are 2 marks available, the grade for the submitted assignment, so what did they earn, and that is out of 75 on the way I've set it up, and the grade for the assignment, for the assessment that they actually carried out themselves. So the final grade is a combination of these grades. And I think this is the part that a lot of people find quite confusing in terms of, where did the kind of numbers come from? Okay, there are a couple of different ways this can work. If you look up here, there's a comparison of assessments. Currently, it is set to fair. What this allows you to do is, if a student has assessed work and maybe they've had a falling out with the person that they've been set to assess, you as a teacher have reviewed it, you can override it because, you know, it wasn't fair. When Moodle calculates the grades, it looks at the difference between the reviewer's marks. And depending on what the comparison has been set at, either very strict, fair is the middle one, lax or very lax. So basically you're not really worried about you know, the differences between the assessor's marks. It will then calculate a grade on it. Now, every time you change this comparison and you click and recalculate, it will give you a different set of grades here. Actually, the biggest one that will change, depending on what this is set at, is the grade for assessment. Now, as it happens in my students' grades, that all the marks were very close to each other, which is why they've all ended up with the same grade for assessment and different grades for the actual assignment. Okay, but this will vary if the assessors vary in grades, because some might have been a little bit too far off. Okay, once we're happy with the grading evaluation phase, okay, and we want to provide a conclusion of the activity, which is just a statement of this activity is now closed. You click on the closed phase button, and at this point, the grades are recorded into the gradebook. Up until that point, they are still changeable. Okay, so we then click on the closed. Okay, this is the message that all the students will get, and they will now receive their grades and their feedback. Any questions? I think with workshop, probably most useful there is discussion. Does it look as complicated as you thought it? It's all quiet up there. Do you think you'd be tempted to use it? Uh, 75% is the submission grade, and the assessment grade is 25%. Now, the way that is calculated, it looks at the difference in grades between the assessors. So if a student has marked really low and the other two students have marked quite closely together, that assessor would get a lower grade. I think the hardest part is making sure that you get the right activity to begin with. David, yes, you can judge against a teacher's set grade. If you set a teacher up as one of the assessors, then that will allow the system to tally against that and look at the differences. The other thing is you can actually go in and assess whether the grades given are fair, or if you can see that one student has unfairly graded another, maybe it's their best friend, you can grade them down or grade them up if they've had a falling out. Paula, yes, absolutely. It does take time. And this is why I was saying, when you're trying this out for the first time, I think it's important to do it with a group that's not under kind of any other curriculum pressures, but you can actually take a little bit of time out to discuss how best, to assess each other as well. What do they think they should be doing? Maybe work through a couple of examples as well. We have trials this with Year 7 and Year 8, and actually they're the best students because they are really willing to give it a go, and they actually try and understand the criteria that you have set for the assignments. I think the biggest challenge for us was just encouraging people to use it, because it does take a little while, not so much to set it up, but to think about the task, to think about how you wanted it graded and what you wanted as an outcome. I mean, like a lot of things where technology is involved, it doesn't always save you time initially when you're doing the setup, but actually the information you then get out of it is really rewarding. But it was making the time and encouraging people to invest time in it. Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. Definitely need to think about it. But I think that's true for a lot of the things we do on Moodle. Any activity that we set up, I think there's no point in setting it up just because it sounds like it's a nice thing to do, whether it's a forum or a wiki or whatever. There has to be a point to it. And I think students are very discerning. If they don't see the point, they will switch off as well. You do need their buy-in to make it work. I have limited every student to 2. I think actually any more than 2 is hard. Students will get bored as well. They may not put as much effort into it. We have used it in history. We're looking at some written assignments. Myself, I've used it with sort of maths coursework assignments where they've had to do an investigation or a piece of extended project work, and I've got them to assess each other's. Best piece of advice I can give you is to plan it. Plan it on paper first, and actually once you've got the plan in terms of what are the criteria for this assignment, once you've set the task, what are the criteria, actually putting it into Moodle is very, very quick. The rest of the process is automated, but actually plan, absolutely. Jennifer, I don't know. I think it could. I've not actually tried to put in satisfactory, but I think you could probably do that with a scale. The honest answer is I actually don't know. Yeah, I think you could probably put it in with a scale. I think the reason it actually asks to assign marks is so that you then have it fed through to the gradebook. You're welcome. Okay, any more questions? I do hope you have a go at it. I think you'll find it very, very worthwhile. Yes, Sam, absolutely. You can use rubrics, definitely, and they work really well. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to submit a document, but what you can do in terms of the phases for the oral presentations is actually just state that it happened. Welcome, Lindy. Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry it wasn't a live demo, but I'll try and do that this Saturday.
Hi, Simi, Leonie here. Just before everybody disappears, I'd like to say thank you very much for that presentation. Looks like you've encouraged some people to actually give it a go and given them some great pointers. So thank you so much for that, and really appreciate your persistence in uploading that presentation initially. Could have been quite stressful. So really do appreciate that and appreciate your time putting the presentation together. Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody at another session, hopefully.
Next. Yeah, I'm in a class now for 4 weeks. Okay, Lindsay, will do. Hi, Brendan. Lindsay, thank you so much for all your help. The typing wasn't going to happen today. Brilliant, yeah. Brilliant. If anybody has any questions, do feel free to email me or find me on Twitter, and I'll try and help you out. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. So, hi everyone, and I'll see you in another presentation. Oh, what sort of tasks? We have, so I've done a maths investigation where they had to work out the probability of winning Monopoly in a variety of scenarios. They did a huge project on it, and then they were assessed on 5 different criteria. We used a Rubik's marking guide for that. And it was really interesting how, they followed the problem through, how they all interpreted the marking guide as to what it would show. We did that with a history project as well, looking at various bits of evidence and how it was interpreted. But that was interesting because that was essay writing, and that, I think, takes a very different skill to assess to the maths one. But I have to say, students absolutely love being teachers. They do like marking.